I am here with Ziggy Margies at Teatro at the GCTC, a fantastic new shiny spot for foodies who may be interested. And we're going to have a little chat and find out what is new and exciting here. So, hi Ziggy, how's it going?
Good. Nice to see you. So yes, we're a nice new little restaurant. We've been open now for a month. We're a little different because we're inside of somebody else's space. So we're inside the GCTC, which is very cool because you've got a 262-person theater, but most people only know it as a theater. What had been in the bottom here before was a cafe. Very simple, very basic. What we've done is transform the space. We've set up a 56-seat restaurant, which is full service. So we're doing lunch and dinner. Lunch Monday to Friday, dinner 7 days a week starting at 5 o'clock. I guess what's interesting, what sets us apart, we have a chef. His name is Mook Sutton. He's from New Zealand. He spent the last 2 years in the Cayman Islands. He's been back in Canada for 3 months. So he brings with him entirely different flavor profiles, entirely different styles, some different ingredients that he likes to work with. So because of that, the menu is a little bit more eclectic than what you're going to find up and down the street. The flavor profiles, again, are quite different because of that. And that's one of the things I like most about doing this, is that we're not like anybody else. This is a beautiful street. There's lots of great food on this street. To open up another restaurant that had the same sort of food to compete on the same marketplace didn't make any sense. And again, for the theater crowd, we wanted a place that they could call home. They have not had that in the last 4 or 5 years here. Even though this building's been open for 8 years, the first 2 years they did have a restaurant that worked very well. But after that, when new people took over, nothing really stood, nothing really worked well. So coming back in here, we had to change that entire philosophy and bring them back to a restaurant and not just a cafe. So because of that, we remodeled the entire kitchen. We put in a full kitchen. We put in some really neat equipment.
Tell us a little bit about the new appliances that have been installed.
Okay, so to start backwards again, this building is a green building. So because of that, everything that we looked at for the kitchen had to be done with green in mind. So the first thing that we did is we put in the most high-tech oven on the face of the earth. It's called a combi oven. The particular one that we put in, it's the only one installed in the city, except for the demo one at the office of the people who sell the product. What makes it really unique is it uses heat and steam. It allows you to cook basically twice as fast. It uses half the amount of energy, but it's tiny. It's only about 20 inches wide, so it's very, very small. And because our kitchen is very small, it worked very well with it. Because of also using heat and steam, food stays moister, it's more tender, but we can cook multiple things in the oven at once of different styles. There's no flavor transfer from one item to the other item. So you can be cooking shrimp and bison, and there's no flavor transfer from one to the other. So that makes it really quite unique. The other thing is we've gone with all induction cooktops. So induction cooktops use half the energy. They don't heat up. They only heat the pan through magnetic induction. So again, a much more greener direction to go for us. And they cool extremely quickly, which means we're not heating up the environment that's in here. So we're easier on the air conditioning, which again is more green for the building. Other little things, we replaced the dishwasher. We put in a new dishwasher that used half the energy of the old dishwasher. And again, these may not sound like important things, but it's when you add them all up come the end of the year, you sit there and say, hey, that's what this building was all about. One of the neat things that we're doing for the theater crowd is we have a second bar upstairs. We're actually switching over, and we're going to be putting wine on tap upstairs. And we're one of the few restaurants doing this. And in fact, not only are we one of the few, we're actually doing it differently than anybody else. We're using a different style of gas. What this means is a better experience for the theater goer. They get a nicer wine. We get to step up the wine. We're actually using a Canadian wine. So we've worked with a Canadian winery. It goes into a keg just like beer. It holds 26 bottles in a keg. The difference is, from the first glass to the last glass, it's exactly the same. And it's the way that the winemaker envisioned it to be. but the environmental footprint, 97% smaller than a wine bottle. So it's incredibly nice in terms of environment, in terms of the green aspect. But because of that smaller footprint, it also means that there's a cost savings. So what we've done is we've been able to move that cost savings over to the client. So instead of saying a wine's going to cost X, we were able to change the price of wine from where they were using a very inexpensive wine. We only changed the price by 50 cents, and we can offer them a wine that's way nicer.
Yeah.
So that's what I really liked, is the fact that we didn't have to sacrifice quality of wine to get to a price point that is what the theater goes, we're expecting. Because if there was a huge change, it wouldn't have worked for them. And I really didn't want to give them an inferior wine. So instead, what we did is revamped our entire wine program to put something in that met the criteria.
I want to know a little bit about the flavor profiles you're talking about, the very unique flavor profiles, because we've gotten used to having really unique pairings of food. Because a lot of bistros in Ottawa are exploring interesting pairings. I think one of the coolest ones that I've had recently was watermelon and balsamic vinegar. So that's probably one of the most interesting things I've had recently. So in terms of what's being offered here, that's a little bit different, a little bit off the beaten path. What kind of things can people look forward to?
Okay, when we talk about our flavor profiles that are different, almost everything you will find on the menu has got a slightly different flavor profile. It's not all out in left field. It's not so different that you go, wow, I really don't know if I want to try it. But I mean, like even the kale salad, they do a port wine and blue cheese dressing with mustard.
Oh.
Again, something you go, I've never tried it, never seen it. And we just sort of say, just try it and see if you like it. And again, the response has been great. The reviews have been great. Asparagus, Parmesan, tomato jam.
Tomato jam.
Not something that you're going to see. Crab with pineapple and kimchi. It's, again, not what you're going to see. But there are some stuff that you're very used to seeing. Baba ganoush, spiced hummus, black olive tapenade. Now, we make it all in-house. So nothing comes out of a can. In fact, nothing in here comes out of a can, comes out of a jar, comes out of a bottle. Every single flavor is done in-house. So again, normal things that you'd expect, white wine mussels, very simple. But then you go to the next one, the tom yum coconut broth. Again, you can find it, but it's a nice little twist. The duck, peach gingerbread crumble. Again, not something you're going to see very often. The tomato dish, not like anybody expects, ever. The bruschetta even. The oven-dried tomatoes. They dry these tomatoes in this lovely combi oven for 14 hours.
Oh.
So where normally when you have a bruschetta, you get the acidity in the flavor,
Yes.
and it's bright. Here, you get an earthiness to the tomatoes.
How does it differ from a sun-dried tomato, for example?
Sun-dried tomato, they've taken all the moisture out. We don't actually dry the moisture out. What we do is we're, in that slow roasting process, we're actually infusing more flavor in. That's why we get more earthiness. So we take a little bit of the acidity out of the tomato and get a little bit more of the earthiness into the tomato. So it's slightly different, but we sort of say you've got to just try these things and see what it's like.
And can you tell us a little bit about your suppliers? So in terms of where you get your seafood from, where you get your meat from, that kind of thing.
Okay, a lot of people, they talk about a distance where, you're within 100 miles and so on and so forth. We look a little differently when it comes to suppliers. All of our suppliers, we have 7 suppliers within walking distance of our restaurant. So we're not saying that all the produce is coming from within walking distance, but for us, the importance is dealing with suppliers that are not just local, but actually they eat at our restaurant. So they know what we're doing with their food, and they want to make sure that what they're providing us meets what we're looking for. Our chef is from New Zealand. Our sous chef is an Ottawa boy, but he's back from Whistler. So we're talking about people who have lots of seafood behind them. They will not accept frozen. It's not going to happen. So the suppliers that we work with, we walk to and we talk to them on a daily basis. So it's not just picking up the phone and calling somebody wherever they are. They literally walk down the street and say, okay, I need this, whether it be the local market, whether it's something like our meat, which is just down the street, is about 3 blocks, our seafood's about 4 blocks away. We try to deal with everybody as local as we can. Now, there's certain things that we can't, and that's fine, so we bring that in. But again, I think every one of our suppliers has actually eaten at our restaurant in this first month. So it's not just nameless. They have to have a face to what they're doing.
Yeah, so you'd mentioned earlier, the space has been here for quite a while. There's been a few other restaurants, eating spots that have been in here, and they haven't lasted very long. So what do you think, what are you bringing for your recipe for success for this particular spot?
In talking to the people at the GCTC, I made it very clear to them that the space had to be substantially different from what was in here before. So the first thing that we did was we cordoned off the space to make it feel like a restaurant. That was very important. Give it its own identity. Number 2, we took out all the tables and chairs. We replaced all the tables and chairs and put in new tables and chairs. We changed up the style of the restaurant. It only sat about 20 to 25 people prior. We're now at 56 people. The kitchen had to be changed to meet the type of food that we were putting in. We had to bring in a real chef. We can't heat anything up anymore. There's no microwave here. You had to cook food. And that's the biggest changes. We had to cook food. But we also had to make a marriage between us and the GCTC. It couldn't just be a restaurant within their space. It had to be more of a tight-knit community. So what happens is the GCTC staff have the ability to book a reservation for their clients when they book a ticket for them. Oh, you're coming on Tuesday night to see the play? Would you like to eat with us at the restaurant? Yes, they'll make the reservation for the client right online. So now it's not just I'm going to the theater, but I'm actually having an evening out.
Yes. All right, so if people want to find out hours, menus, any info on your social medias, where can they look?
We're online at teatrocafe.ca, and of course Facebook, Twitter, all the usual things run off of there. But please that, and they can also call us 613-699-1020.
All right, thanks very much, Ziggy. So if you guys are interested, check out Teatro Cafe, 1233 Wellington Street West, right downstairs in the beautiful GCTC, and come try some fantastic adventurous flavors.